One world order, plandemics, food shortages. What does the church do in times of chaos and destruction? We build. KingdomCome.io is an invite-only collaboration network connecting skilled Christians across every industry and around the world. Join a private network of unashamedly Christian founders and engineers, investors and lawyers, artists and farmers, anyone with the skill to share and faith like a mustard seed, collaborating on side projects and new businesses that conquer the world for Christ. Apply to our waitlist today at KingdomCome.io. That's KingdomCome.io.
While God created the world, the morning stars sang together. After God delivered Israel through the Red Sea, Moses and Miriam led the people in singing. God destroyed Israel's enemies under King Jehoshaphat, while the choir sang. When Jesus was born, the angels sang, and before going to the cross, he sang. God rejoices over us with singing, and one of the only things we know for certain that everyone will be doing in heaven is singing. At New St. Andrews College, we understand that music is not an elective. It is central to our being and identity. We endeavor to train all our students in a joyful and robust musical literacy that will help them shape culture in a Christ-like direction wherever they go. Additionally, we offer the Certificate of Music in conjunction with our bachelor's degree in liberal arts and culture for students who desire extra music training beyond the regular music courses they will take as a part of the core curriculum. In the certificate program, you won't simply appreciate music or listen to it or talk about it. You will do music. You will study it, analyze it, read it, write it, sing it, and play it. You will receive private instruction in your primary instrument, as well as secondary lessons in voice, piano, conducting, and other instruments. You will receive a solid foundation in music theory and analysis. You will study music history, church music, and music pedagogy. And when you graduate, you will leave with the ability to sing, play, understand, and steward music in whatever church or community you plant yourself. I'm Dr. David Erb, and this is the Certificate of Music at New St. Andrews College.
Feliz Navidad! Happy New Year, everybody. 2023. We're here.
Yes.
We're here. I'm excited about this year.
He's already speaking in tongues.
Yes. Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Nice.
And we can translate.
There we go. Pastor Toby, Chalk Knox, I'm the Water Boy, and it's good to be with you. This is our first show of 2023.
So, this new year, join our mission.
Start here.
Fight against an evil culture through print media.
This is your New Year's resolution, by the way.
Am I going to read the ad?
No, I don't know. I'm waiting to see.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in 2023?
Fight against an evil culture through print media with our Fight, Laugh, Feast magazine. By using this form of media, we can continue to spread the good news of the rowdy Christian lifestyle. Oh, really? That's what we're going to do? While tech giants try to shut down our avenues to deliver the truth to you, They haven't yet stopped the United States Postal Service. We want to deliver theologically driven cultural commentary from faithful and heavy-hitting authors right to your door. Psalms to sing, recipes for feasting, humor to encourage, belly laughs, all to the glory of God. Sign up your church, your grumpy uncle, the new pope. The new pope? He's been the pope for a while.
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
He feels new though.
He feels really old and liberal. and your kids, even if they're not baptized, they can get a subscription too. Platinum Club members, you get a magazine subscription for free.
Yes.
So if you're not a club member yet, sign up today. 4 issues, $60 per year. Unless you're a Platinum Club member, then it's free. That's it. Go to fightlaughfeast.com right now and get your subscription to the Fight Laugh Feast magazine.
This being the first show of the year,
we're going to talk about the conference.
Well, the conference. Oh man, I just signed. We already talked about this.
Encounter.
We signed the official building lease for the Ark Encounter for October.
Yeah,
and it's the dates are 11th through the 14th.
Oh yeah,
because we're actually starting Beer and Psalms on Wednesday night this year. And we'll explain that later, but just pen that.
Okay. 11th through the 14th.
11th through the 14th.
One more day.
October.
One more evening. One more evening. Yeah. 11th through the 14th.
So because we're going to have time in there for actually going to the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum.
And the Creation Museum and all that stuff.
Wow.
So tickets go on sale. And the next, we're hoping January 15th. We just got to work out a couple details because we're also going to be selling discounted tickets to the Ark Encounter as part of everything. So we just got to work out
I
kind
think
of
you
the
just need to make
technology
this your
behind it.
family vacation for the summer.
Oh man,
I think
for
that's
the
what-
October.
For the October. I mean,
Yeah.
save it for the summer.
Yeah.
What you normally do at the summer, save it for October.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Say
tell
it's a family
you,
vacation.
my family, we don't like to go anywhere during the summer and vacation. We love our house
Because
We
everybody's
love-
already going.
we love the weather up here in Idaho.
October is
We love
the
it.
new
Yeah.
summer.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Why not?
So this being the first show of the year in 2023, we wanted to take this opportunity, take this show to kind of review what were the top news articles or top news events of 2022.
The top
That
Yeah.
we covered, because it's probably, we
We make
covered a
the
lot.
news. I mean,
news
we
stories.
what we cover gets to the top.
For real.
Yes, of your heart.
real.
We haven't trended on Twitter once this year, but we get there.
They're trending. We're trending underneath the trending.
Yeah.
You just can't see it. And so some notable mentions. Then we're going to get into the top 10. Okay, some notable mentions.
Just
All right.
for the record, I
Wait, no.
wasn't here for this list.
We have
so this
16 of the top 10. And you couldn't fit them all on there. And so it's like you had to narrow down. And this is the hardest thing.
Yeah,
You cover stories, you're like, oh, this one was so good.
Yeah.
And nobody really cares. So there's we want to go from kind of 11 to 16 and go through those first.
Yeah. So kind of the notable mentions here.
Okay.
The first one was the student debt relief. Joe Biden was going to forgive everyone's student debt up to $20,000. Was the first one. So kind of this welfare for college students. Although I don't think everyone really understands that we're all on welfare when you go to college, and Biden was just going to add to that welfare.
Yeah, he was just expanding
he's
the
gonna
welfare
expand
program and the college
program
debt.
there.
Right.
And I think that's kind of big because now you realize that, you don't have to pay for things that you want to get anymore.
You can take out
You can
loans.
Take out loans. Yeah, that's right.
And Big Daddy Joe.
And people who didn't go to college will pay for them for you.
for real.
Yeah. And so the four houses that I bought, actually, I don't have four houses, but I maybe all my loans will get my mortgage, my current mortgage.
The
maybe
only
it'll
problem
be
with that is
given.
the government owns you now.
Yeah.
So
Did you guys see that clip with Nancy Pelosi and Wolf Blitzer?
No.
I did see that.
Going at it, arguing about which one really cares about the poor.
Yeah. And she had a line in
and they
there.
were both they were going at it, like biting each other.
Because he wanted her to help pass a bill, wasn't it? It was
Something, I don't even know the context, but they were just they were barking at each other.
But really caught me at that clip was the fact that she says they were arguing who's more righteous. And he was like, hey, you need to get this done. She's like, we're working on it.
Yeah,
and then she says, he's like, I see them in the lines. I'm concerned about them. I want to see them be people fed.
Yeah.
I don't know which country he's talking about food lines.
Yeah,
I guess
food
he's talking
lines.
about America.
Right.
I'm like, anyway, so Nancy Pelosi then jumps in at the end of the clip to get the last word. It was like the rush for who can get the last word.
Yeah, it was.
And basically says, well, we're the one who feeds them. And I stopped and was like,
my goodness.
whoa.
The arrogance of that.
Whoa,
Right.
we are at we're at actual. So now we're just waiting for the games to begin for end games, right?
Yeah, Hunger Games.
Hunger
Yeah.
Games.
Yeah.
That's where we're at for Hunger Games.
These people are just utter fools because, again, where does the food come from? It comes from farmers. It comes from people who are actually out there working the field.
But who owns the
Capitalists.
farms though?
It's
Well, the government.
Subsidizes all the farms.
yes, but I'm just saying, it's workers.
Yeah.
Like the food does not just magically appear.
Right.
There are working class people.
Right.
Who are making this happen.
Right.
Right, but the way that Nancy sees it in her head is we're the ones who do all of that.
Right.
Right, we're the ones who
We feed
control
'em.
the.
But it's like hooking a hose up to itself. And you're like, don't worry, we got you.
That's
You're
right.
hooked up. And it's like, but you.
Well, so Wolf and Nancy, it sounds like they're basically just trying to out-socialize each other in their argument.
I'll find the clip. We'll talk about
That's
it.
interesting.
tomorrow.
Okay, all right, number 15. Russia-Ukraine war.
C.
Yeah.
Russia-Ukraine war.
That was a huge story.
And that's still a
huge
big story, and it's basically just a third world, funding mechanism to cycle money back into Republican and Democrats' hands.
Yeah, I think there's something bigger going on there too. There's a couple things that's going on there. I think you have the fight against nationalism and globalism happening right in front of our eyes, and watching the people take the.
So does Putin represent the fight against it?
Well, that's the thing. When you have
they're
two-
trying to frame it as he's the nationalist. He's
Right,
the bad
exactly.
nationalist.
Yeah.
Like the old school Nazi, whatever.
Yep.
And Ukraine represents globalism.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and the world unified, and
Yeah.
watching people take the sides. These companies that are doing this, everybody who you got to remember a lot
Ukraine
of companies.
flag. Check out your
That's
Ukrainian
right.
flag. Have you got your virtue signal up?
It was a form of righteousness. Which side you were on? And-
BLM.
I wonder if I get some
rainbow
money.
flag,
If I put the
Ukraine.
Ukraine flag up, I'll get some money on my Twitter profile.
And watching people posture between the two was telling you kind of where these. So you saw a lot of corporate companies that were doing business with Russia change all of a sudden and say, okay, we're not going to back Russia anymore. We're going to Ukraine. So there's some huge things there.
And number 14, which is, this will tell you something about our news cycles and what's popular and what's not. Okay. The Will Smith smack. It beat out Ukraine and Russia.
Wow.
Yeah.
According to who?
Me.
Knox. According to Knox.
Yeah. No.
Again, we are the news.
Right.
We didn't trend on Twitter, but we're close.
You got to remember why the Will Smith smack was so popular. It wasn't just that. So you had a man walk up on stage that he wasn't supposed to be on, get up and smack another grown man in front of everybody.
Over a joke.
Yell at him at an environment where that's not how we conduct ourselves at all. They're at the Oscars, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing, though, is something in the culture that bubbled up to the top, and we got a taste of it. And what it was cancel culture materialized. When Will Smith is able to get up and do what he did, he's canceling Chris Rock because he doesn't like what he said. He can't handle it. He can't deal with it. Yeah. He can't have a conversation.
Except he kind of canceled himself.
He did get canceled.
Right, but it was because people had a taste of something that they don't. That's what people,
I see what you're saying. So
Will Smith was canceling Chris.
Right.
But of course.
But it didn't work.
It didn't. And the culture tasted it was like, whoa, we don't like that. But yet they were inept to handle it in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
They had to step back and work out weeks of what do we do? How do we engage this?
Yeah.
Right. Why don't we like it? Well, this is a taste of your own medicine.
Right.
And they got it in front stage in front of everybody.
The Oscars.
And nobody knew what to do with it for a while. We thought, and the culture said, oh, we think it's a game.
Right.
Which tells you that we don't have the gumption to read the situation and then to engage in the moment either.
Right.
Everybody's reflexes were slow.
Yeah.
We didn't have any real moral reflexes,
right.
even watching it in post. Slow with it. And I just think that was a big moment that says a lot about American culture and even the news cycle at that time.
Right.
I was trying to Babylon Bee did another article on Will Smith recently. I forget what it was, so I'm going to ruin it, so I'm not going to say it. Let's go to article number 13.
I like
I might come back around.
Sharing.
Yeah. The death of the Queen.
Yes.
The death of an era.
Yeah. Queen Elizabeth II.
And we actually got a helpful video. This will help contextualize to America.
Oh no.
Who the Queen is.
This doesn't look promising.
Girl, the Queen is dead.
Queen Latifah?
No.
Beyonce?
No.
Janet?
No.
Mary J?
No.
Lauryn Hill?
No.
Toni Braxton?
No.
Diana Ross?
No.
Tracy Ellis Ross?
No.
Monica?
No.
Brandy?
No.
Maya?
No.
Misty?
No.
The Spice Girl?
No.
Alicia?
No.
Ashanti?
No.
Mariah?
No. Girl, the Queen of England.
Adele?
No.
Who the hell are they talking about then?
Oh man!
What? The Spice Girl?
The Spice Girl.
That
was a good one.
Yeah,
but I think that
probably true to Americans.
The whole thing about the death of the Queen, the death of an era, the death of a generation that has no idea.
She forgot like the band.
But I think what's important to note there, we talked about this before. Peter Hitchens is kind of waiting to see. So we asked Peter Hitchens on the show, hey, do you think the Queen is kind of representative of the final nail in the Christian coffin in Great Britain?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm still waiting to see that. I want to see what Prince or King Charles does at his inauguration.
Yeah, I didn't read it in detail, but saw some commentary on King Charles's Christmas Day speech.
Okay.
So it's a customary for the British monarch to give a Christmas Day address. Okay. And the commentary I saw on it though said that it was already markedly less Christian.
Yeah.
It was far more there's some God words still sprinkled in it and season and that kind of thing, but more of a humanistic spin on Christmas as opposed to Queen Elizabeth, who was by all accounts a relatively devout Christian.
Yeah.
And I think I know we have a different system here in America, but the hierarchical structure of things are kind of just gone. That's what this generation is. Yeah, well, not just Britain. I think America too. I mean, there was a time where we knew the relationship between America and Britain, what it was, and what we were running from, and what we didn't want, and the fact that we don't understand America and how it's built in relationship to England. when she's talking about the queen, she doesn't know who she's talking about. I mean, she doesn't know where she is in time and space and history and where they're at. They're dislodged in reality and the things that the privileges they're enjoying. She should know who the queen is because she should know what it is that America was built on, the foundations they were built on, and why it was built that way. Yeah. And so not knowing who the queen is means you don't know where you are and who you are in that relationship, you know?
Number 12. Okay, so still notable articles here. Kirk Cameron, Pastor Story Hour.
So I think
it's relatively recent, but yes.
But the reason why I didn't want to know how to place this one on the top 10 because I think one of the more offensive things that happened last year was Michael Foster with Pastor Story Hour and Kirk Cameron's Library Story Hour with his book that he wrote. I don't know of a more offensive attack culturally that happened than that. Right. I think everything else in one way was reflexive or responsive. And Gabe made a good point. Like this is too. But it wasn't complaining about it.
It was just
we're going to go do something.
Yeah, right.
We're going to go and try and
make them respond to us.
Reality for these people and reading godly books, good books in libraries. If we have the opportunity, why wouldn't we do it? But Kirk's was different because he made them jump now. So he made them respond. He made all these, 50 to 60 libraries.
Rejected
him. And he used it just like Facebook when they wouldn't let his video get out and he took a picture with tape over his mouth. It blew up. This is that move again. I believe that he knew that they were not going to let him in there. And so he's like, you know what? Yeah. The same trap that you're trying to build for me, you're going to fall into it. And and it was a great play. And I think we need to find more plays like that. So why this fits really in the top 10, it kind of doesn't, but I think it's one of the greater, it's outside of the 10 because of what it does.
Okay. Number 11. And I think there's a lot more.
I think this should be in the top 10, Gabe.
It should be, especially in terms of things we need to deal with over the next coming years. The Rubenization of the Republican Party.
What? You didn't put this in the top 10?
No.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, I know.
See? I know. That's why you're here. So, Pastor, you can rearrange the list. You're the only person.
I am.
Me and
He's the only person that can.
You're the only person.
Yeah, we can't touch it. It's done for us. The Rubenization of the Republican Party, and basically what we mean by that is kind of the homosexual acceptance and influence in the Republican Party. Now, if you remember, just literally it was 3 weeks ago?
I think you should just combine this with number 7.
Yeah, well that's what I was going to wait.
Failure of the red wave.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking number 8, actually.
I don't know. Maybe that too. But I mean, gay republicanism isn't going to win anything.
No, it's not.
Good point.
But they all believe it. A lot of Republicans believe it. So Trump, just 3 or 4 weeks ago, threw a big party for the log cabin Republicans at Mar-a-Lago.
Did you see his tweet about blaming the pro-life movement for the loss of the two?
I want to talk about
that's
that.
gay.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's one of the gayest things
Trump's
ever said.
Yeah, he's seeing some of the fight that the Republicans who are soft saw, and that being very hardcore, having no restrictions on no exceptions for abortion is not going to play well publicly. He sees that rightly, right? But he doesn't understand that that's the fight that we need to fight. And that's I think he sees. Look, the Democrats saw that's going to be their trap because they don't have the numbers. I think the Democrats saw that's why they kept hitting it. They don't want any exceptions for abortion. That's all you heard all the time, and they were playing to that gooey middle. Yeah. And Trump, he's seeing that in some sense properly.
But the reason why I think. Maybe we wouldn't have the numbers anyways.
Right.
But I would say we certainly don't have the numbers because we have spineless
when you talk like that.
Republicans.
My point is to take the fact that and say there's a reason for this. Right? There's no exceptions at all when it comes to slavery either.
Right. Which goes back to this. But this is the Rubenization of the Republican Party.
This is right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I don't think this is 11. I think this is higher up.
And I mean, we basically
that was a preview for 7.
We got to reclaim the definition that Jesus is the foundation of all conservatism. We can't have a Christless conservatism.
Well, yeah,
and that's
and that means Genesis to Revelation. That means male and female in the image of God.
That's right.
Yeah.
One man, one woman,
wife,
one time.
No chest freezers full of breast milk.
Right.
All out.
Right. No buying and selling wombs and eggs and all the rest of it.
All right, number 10. So getting into kind of the actual top 10 list. We start off number 10 with the Uvalde police shooting.
That was
pretty momentous this last year.
Not police shooting.
School shooting.
Yeah,
school shooting.
Yeah.
But I think why that shooting was particularly egregious, and you've seen this a little bit in other shootings, where the officers were so slow to respond.
Yeah.
We kind of are starting to see the people who are responsible.
Yeah.
There's this cowardice or this unwillingness or this shyness to pull the trigger and to go in and kind of man up in the situation. I think something similar happened a little bit in Florida. I can't remember the Parkland shooting. I think one of the officers didn't go in. I think he got reprimanded for it. It was a long time ago. I can't remember all the details, but the Uvalde shooting. I mean, I think they've fired the police chief. They've a lot of people that have been involved in the whole decision process, and some of them still working out.
And the thing that was interesting for us, I think, was talking through the worldview that creates a culture where these kind of men are those assigned to protect our lives. Yeah. And it's just a fact. I mean, the Proverbs say that all who hate wisdom love death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we say, well, yeah, that's an interesting proverb. It's like, no, but really.
Yeah.
When you hate wisdom, when you hate God's wisdom and God's word, it makes people into fools and cowards. Yeah. It does that. Yep. And you end up with incompetent and incapable police forces and military and so on, and lives are at stake. I mean, that's we're talking about real time consequences of a pagan worldview. Yeah.
You got to remember, we saw parents who were willing to put on body armor themselves to rush in to save their own kids.
That's right.
Right. Now, when they have people who they give up money to do that for them. Right. And I think ultimately from that too was a breakdown of leadership. Like that was the number one thing running through that, which, you're supposed to be the one who thinks through these things, who operates under, say, what if this happens? How do we operate? How do we move? And then you plan and you practice and you rehearse those things. And it made me say, okay, do we think through those type of things as well?
But that requires men who take responsibility.
That's right.
And responsibility is you only get that in a covenantal worldview.
That's right.
I mean, that's
who's in charge.
Yeah,
right.
Hierarchical. A covenantal worldview recognizes that there are heads of covenants who have bodies that they're responsible for. A husband is the head of his wife and his family, responsible. Right. God looks down upon him and holds him responsible for the care of his family. Pastors are covenantal heads of their churches with the elder board. Magistrates and officers and police chiefs are covenant heads that are responsible under God for those people under them. But that means taking responsibility. That means taking risks. That means maybe even being wrong and taking the hit,
the ownership of it.
But those people repent in covenant relationship. You repent.
But if there's no covenantal worldview, then everybody's trying to pass the buck. It's committees everywhere.
That's right.
So there's smoke-filled rooms and no one takes responsibility. No one's responsible for anything. And it's always someone else's fault.
But I think there's two other factors here that have contributed to this cowardice or to this second guessing or being gun shy or whatever. One is the politics of truth. Like, we don't even know what a man is anymore. We don't know what a woman is anymore. The twisting of the truth. George Floyd, hands up, don't shoot, was never a thing.
Right.
That was spun. Yep. The cop immediately in George Floyd's situation was,
he was vindicated.
But I think that's all of those that's just excuses.
Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot.
Hands up, don't shoot.
And then the George Floyd, I think there's definitely excuses in there. But then you have the advent of social media. Something that live video, live coverage, where it's making people very gun shy or very against or not wanting to take risks because they know immediately what they do could be publicized online and spun.
Right.
And spun. That's the issue.
But that is because they have rejected a covenantal worldview and nobody will take responsibility. And so it's Adam in the garden. It's the woman you gave me.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's the school I grew up in. It's the family I grew up in. It's the abuse I received. It's the way I was treated.
I didn't
have a dad.
It's all these excuses, but it's rather than saying you're right. I allowed this to happen on my watch and taking responsibility.
Forgive me, I was wrong.
And so it's excuses, which turns into lies. Because that's what Adam's doing. He's lying right there. He's saying it's the woman you gave me.
Yeah.
It's lying. And why are they lying? Yeah, because they're afraid to take the hit.
Yeah. Right.
Because Adam was afraid to die.
But but when you cut covenant, you sign up to take the hit.
That's right. Yeah.
Go ahead,
but when you get made a man, You got made to take a hit.
That's
right.
That's right.
When
That's-
God created you male, He created you
creation
male
of it, yeah.
in order for you to get cut, in order for you to get broken, in
To
order
die for your family.
for you to sacrifice yourself, doing the best you can before God, and trusting God to raise you from the dead.
Everybody wants to be like Jesus until it's time to die.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're made for that, right?
And so, if you want the politics of truth to change, if you want people to believe, the truth that a man is a man, a woman is a woman, this is you start taking responsibility where you're at,
Take
where
up
you're
your cross and follow Jesus. Take up your cross.
Where you're at.
Take responsibility for your actions, for what God has entrusted to you. Own it, and own it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Warts and all, weaknesses and all, and then begin taking responsibility. Taking
This is
action.
2023.
It's funny. We're still a number 10 in Uvalde, but this is really important. Pastor, when you do take responsibility for that, you don't then just wait to take the hit. You build a system out that has the right setup so that those things don't happen.
Right.
And you start
You
working.
repent.
You repent.
You take it, and then you take action.
But it doesn't just happen at when everything falls apart.
right. No.
You start seeing, okay, what am I responsible for and how do I maintain that and build it in the way that God has designed it to work, right? And be faithful in that. But we act like that reality of building things doesn't actually lead to an outcome. Right. But if you don't take responsibility, not just to take the hit, but to build it in a way that it is faithful and obedient to the way God's designed the thing to be, right? Then it has a different outcome too.
Right.
And so then if you make a mistake in that type of setup, it's like, oh, I missed that. You're right. My bad. Let me repent of that. Now, if you're working and you're not taking responsibility over somebody else's system, right, then when you get in a position of leadership, you don't actually start rebuilding the whole thing the way it's supposed to go.
Right.
And then you're just sitting there waiting to take a hit. That's not how it's designed to be either.
And all of this is reflective of the second greatest commandment, which is love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Love your wife as your own body. Love your children as yourself. And you see this. I mean, you don't feel good because you didn't eat good food or something like that, or you haven't been exercising. You've been sitting in front of a TV watching, and eating popcorn all day long or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what do? Well, you should make different choices. You say, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to go back I'm going to get to work. I'm going to eat healthy. And you make those choices and it affects how you're doing.
Yeah.
And God says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yep.
Love your wife as your own body. So start making changes.
Right. Take full responsibility of the whole situation.
But recognize that your love and your leadership is effective. It's efficacious.
That's right.
And it actually makes a home better. It makes a community better. It makes a family better.
Why don't we go to number 9 after Pastor Toby does, because we kind of stayed a lot on 10.
Okay. Not so long ago, the American dream was alive and well. Employees who worked hard were rewarded, and employers looked for people who could do the job, not for people who had the right political views. Redballoon.work is a job site designed to get us back to what made American businesses successful: free speech, hard work, and having fun. If you're a free speech employer who wants to hire employees who focus on their work and not identity politics, then post a job on redballoon.work. If you're an employee who is being censored at work or is being forced to comply with the current zeitgeist, post your resume on redballoon.work and look for a new job. Redballoon.work, the job site where free speech is still alive. www.redballoon.work.
I think Red Balloon's going to be super important this year.
It is.
Yep.
Number nine.
Number 9.
Ideological subversion. You remember we had Bezmenov.
Yuri Bezmenov.
We had him on the show.
From
we literally had him on the show from
84.
1984.
Orwell.
He talked
What else happened in 84?
the 4 things that he said we were basically in a Cold War. And he talked about the demoralization of the culture, the 4 things of ideological subversion: demoralization, destabilization, creating a crisis, and then normalization.
Right.
And when I thought about, and what part of what his demoralization was just the subversion of storytelling in American culture to make you, to break down the structures you were talking about, husbands and wives and children, hierarchical structures, and to get you to doubt the realities of, the
way God made the world.
The way God made the world. Heroes, men, knights, princesses need to be rescued, dragons need to be slain, all those things. And so they did that through a form of storytelling so that your moral compass would be corrupted. And when you realize that you're at war like that, it makes you think differently. Because when you see bullets coming at you, you load up your ammo and you get ready, you learn how to be offensive. When we think about war, we don't think about, people are attacking us through the content that we're ingesting. We're at war.
Yeah.
I mean, real war. So then our fight needs to be adjusted on how we calculate, what is this? What's the ideas behind it? And how do we make things that encourage people and fight the Cold War the other way around.
Yeah.
So I thought Yuri Bezmenov was huge for us last year.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the Bible verse, but where basically, I think it was in Jude maybe, where we need to be aware of Satan's tactics and we need to fight them. We need to be engaged against the principalities and powers, and we need to be active in that. And so we should know their strategies. We should know their ideology and their philosophy of the place the devil's trying to run on us,
right,
and all that. Number eight. This is a big one. We gave Matt Walsh Journalist of the Year, which he later rejected from us.
2 days later.
Not
2 days
rejected.
later.
He just don't like us.
No, he didn't know. That's the best. That's the best spin on it. He didn't know.
Sure, had he known.
But what is a woman?
Yeah, I think
This is one of the most important. I think this is probably the most important documentary this last year.
hands
Given
down.
the context of our culture, what's
Hands
going
down.
on, what is a woman? It was amazing in that documentary to watch Matt go around and ask people, what is a woman?
Yeah.
And just the inability for people to respond with a coherent answer.
Right.
I think to me it was
He
just
should
no-
have interviewed Sharon.
Ah.
I don't know if you all caught that Christmas special with the wives.
he would have cut her clip from the film. And the only reason why was because the doc was
She said God, didn't
that.
she?
Well, there you go.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So I think though there was his doc is representative of the full all-out attack against women. And the couple of things I got here was that the draft that almost passed, and nobody really talked about it. Nobody really talked
We
about
did.
the fact
We
that
talked about it.
Right.
that there was they almost passed a draft
The
for
Senate
women.
and Congress.
Yeah. So
And over my dead body.
it went to Congress and it was passed in Congress 20-6. Then it went back to the House and fell there. So it almost passed, but the fact that we almost had a draft for our daughters is insane. Drag Queen Story Hour is blowing up like crazy. That's nothing but an assault on women. You see how they dress? That's drag for women, or blackface for women. Then the abortion issue was massive. Trans sports everywhere. And then the idea that somebody said, I have 2 industrial freezers of breast milk in my garage,
right.
and no one really flinched at that.
Right. On the Daily Wire.
On the Daily Wire,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
And
That was the Jordan Peterson interview, wasn't it?
Thoughtfully
Yeah.
stroked his beard.
Yeah.
Yes. Very
Interesting.
Very
I want to say
interesting.
this. Probably my favorite thing from last year that we did was not us. It was
Jeff
Schaefer, who
Yeah.
actually did a full breakdown.
yeah.
It was the phenomenal
Of that interview. Of Jordan Peterson
So good.
interviewing Dave Rubin. If you missed it,
It's on
you
the
need to
network.
get it.
36 minutes
It's
of
in the
amazing.
app and all
Yeah.
that stuff, yeah.
Share it.
Number 7, the failure of the red wave.
But
in
enough
November.
about the Rubinization of the Republican Party.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have much to say about 7. It just happened. It was
Well-
huge. It was a big news, and everybody misread it. Everybody misread it was just kind of like
it's hard to
26
read things when your elections aren't secure. In Arizona, in Pennsylvania.
Oh, see, Gabe, why are you gonna do this? I'm not trying to spend a whole lot of time on this, but let me just say this. I think that we have we are getting the kind of information we want to hear. We're making the kind of information we want to hear, and we're not getting to the truth. This is what happens when you forget God and deny truth. You can't adjust or see anything, and you don't trust anybody anymore.
Yeah.
You get blind. We're becoming
100%.
like the idols that we're worshiping. And so this is why we couldn't get a handle on the information.
Yeah.
We're detached from reality. When you become detached from God, reality doesn't make sense to you anymore. And no one knows how to read reality.
And this happened. I don't trust our politicians. I don't trust our media. I don't trust our journalists.
That's right.
I don't trust most churches. I don't trust. Did you see the football player that fell, that collapsed last night in the football game? Is very, very hard scene to watch. But I don't trust any of the NFL's assessment of what they think is happening.
After the of course.
I mean, the guy was
Of course
vaccinated 8 days ago.
Yeah. And now you're a jerk for having even thought about that.
And you can't even say that.
Now, you can say that the NFL's hits are too hard and killed the man.
Yeah,
You can
or,
say
or
that.
you can say
or tried to kill a man.
Comocarditis.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
trying to say maybe it's comocarditis. I might be using the wrong terminology there, but they're basically saying is
A hard enough hit.
a hard enough hit to the heart that
Football
it
is
stopped the heart.
destroying man.
So you got this guy with a pad on a shoulder hitting this guy with a pad on a chest, and you're saying that that's enough blunt force trauma to the heart to make him stop?
But maybe it is.
Maybe.
That's
But
not,
yeah, That's the point.
The point is
I don't trust their assessment at all.
If they told you the truth because of everything that's gone on, you can't trust them.
What if the NFL came out and said, "Yeah, it was the vaccination, got him"?
Well, you know what? That would restore. That would
kill the NFL
if it was true.
That would kill the
that's
NFL
the thing, if it was true. But we don't know.
Aaron Rodgers would be like,
you know what, Aaron Rodgers? He ain't saying nothing right now. He's like, that's why I ain't put that.
That's right.
But I think it was Charlie Kirk said something about it, right?
Yeah.
He said something about it on Twitter, and they came in and destroyed Charlie Kirk. You're the scum of the earth. And I'm thinking, like, wait, you guys are doing the same thing, saying football is so violent that it's causing trauma to people's bodies and hurting people. You guys are saying, look, we just saw a man, because of football, almost lose his life on the field.
Yeah.
So you're saying it about a sport, you know, and just we're just saying, is it possible? Can somebody tell us?
Yeah.
But we don't trust any information right now. And that's very dangerous, because even if we get something that we think is true, it might not be true, but we think it fits our narrative.
Yeah, right. Got to be careful there. Got to be thinking Christians. Got to be wisdom of Proverbs Christians.
Right.
Number 5, Christian nationalism and meet the press.
Or is that 6?
Yeah, number 6.
Yeah,
so
6.
there you go. That's true. It's true that it was number 6.
All right, just wanted just checking.
Number 6, Christian nationalism, meet the press. So Meet the Press came to Moscow, Idaho to do a spot on our church and our community, our churches and our community. And they originally came not calling it a Christian nationalism interview.
No, it's just we just want to interview.
They just want to interview
what's
us,
going on in
and
Moscow.
then they turn it into a Christian nationalism issue.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, fine, we'll take that terminology. We'll work with it with Meet the Press. But the Christian nationalism, and then Stephen Wolfe, Canon Press, published a book by Stephen Wolfe on Christian nationalism, which blew up and went all over the place.
Still going.
It's still going.
Is,
it's interesting how little Moscow kind of, at some level, is this huge representation of what Christian nationalism means to America at some level.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think the reason why we're even dealing with this question of Christian nationalism is because the old system is blown up and everybody knows it. There used to be an old Christian system where we'll stick to our Christianity over here, and you guys do politics, and you guys know what the rules are, right? Okay, cool. Y'all leave us to do our Christian religious, give us all the religious exemptions, right?
And Enlightenment, secularism.
And we thought that could work for a long time, and we're just now waking up to the fact that the old system is completely broken, and we have to have a new way forward. So Christian nationalism is really a fight we're going to have for the next 20, 30 years about what does it look like now to be a Christian in America. And
that's starting to turn against you from the FBI down.
And what is the identity markers as a Christian that it takes for you to be that citizen? So this is a great conversation, but it's only here because we have a collapse of the old guard.
Well, and I think also you've got, it used to be considered polite for the secularists, and of course secularism is its own religion. But they pretended relatively well, maybe, that they weren't religious.
Right.
And that they
we believed them.
They pretended neutrality, and we believed them. We were the kind of idiots that believed them.
And they pretended to have respect for Christianity.
Right. But
part of that.
What's happened is the masks have come off, and the claws have come out. And now they're insisting basically that if you say out loud that what Christianity teaches, you're a hater, you're a bigot. You're a racist, and that's been part of the,
which why
the
a lot of
collapse of
pastors
that old
won't do
system.
that.
Is now, So now a number of Christians are getting roused out of their stupor of thinking we can just coexist. Like the bumper sticker,
and they're realizing their theology actually has more application beyond the church walls.
And I think the COVID thing helped all of this significantly because when they finally said, no, you got to close your churches down. Only pot shops and abortion clinics are essential services. It woke a lot of Christians up to say, "Wait a second, what? What?
That doesn't make sense."
That was beautiful, actually.
Number 5, related actually to Christian nationalism: FBI President raid at Mar-a-Lago, and the FBI arresting pro-lifers, and then I'd also add to this the FBI paying Twitter $3.5 million to do all their dirty work.
Ooh. What about
Why'd you merge 4 and 3 together? Or 4 and 5 together.
What about the FBI organizing a raid on the Governor Whitmer of Michigan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or maybe January 6th.
Or Hunter Biden. Or Hunter Biden. I don't know. You know,
the FBI and the entities inside of our federal government are a little scary right now.
Do we know who leaked the Supreme Court documents yet on Roe v. Wade?
The FBI is working on that.
No, we don't. We
As soon
don't.
as they finish
Do you think that would be easy to solve? But the FBI could probably solve that in like a day.
They know.
They
know.
will, Gabe.
They know.
They will once they get done with Twitter.
Man.
Oh wait,
Man.
they're kind of
that'll get released after the next presidential election.
So these
maybe
are all
right before, depending on who the candidate.
Yeah, depending on. So these are all kind of cascading together. Number 4, Musk buys Twitter,
That's
Twitter files,
easily top 5,
and the
yeah.
restoration of journalism. The restoration of journalism.
I think
Knox?
so. Yeah, absolutely.
You got a little more faith than I do.
Yeah, I think that. Well, there's a crack that's just happened in the social media and the empires.
The monopoly's been broken.
It's been broken. And if people are wise, they will capitalize on this. Everybody should be talking about the Twitter leaks. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
just
Every
share it.
Church ministry that is inside of politics, they need to be talking about it. They need to share it. They need to have some worldview stuff on. They need to engage it. This is we have a chink in the armor that we can actually work through.
Right. Yeah.
And this is it.
We spotted a hole. There's an opening in the armor on the Dragon.
Yeah, and Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion. It cost that. Work with it. Get those files. Do you understand what just happened?
Yeah.
All the information that comes from Twitter goes to this farm of information filers. They take all that information after they file it, send it to the federal government. Are you listening? Mm-hmm. Federal government then takes that information and sends it back to Twitter with recommendations. Yeah. The reason why they had to pay Twitter money was because of all the recommendations that they had that Twitter couldn't keep up with.
So it came out today. Twitter was overwhelmed with all the FBI,
requests.
CIA, and so forth requests. Twitter gave money, and the
Twitter gave money.
Excuse me, FBI gave them money for it. About we'll pay you $3.5 billion for all your troubles for us. Mm-hmm. And Matt Taibbi said that they got paid, but it even wasn't enough.
Right. Wow.
What, 3.5 million? I said billion, 3.5 million. Yeah. They said, and Matt said they got paid, but it wasn't enough either.
Right, right. So they were doing favors.
Yeah.
For the FBI.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they were working for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was slave wages, but they're getting paid.
Yeah, okay.
Number 3, and I don't think Christians understand how important this one is.
Yeah.
We need to take this far more seriously, the what we call the Disrespect for Marriage Act.
Right.
And the preceding bill that came from Canada, the C4
last January
conversion bill.
Right.
And one of the differences between the C4 the Disrespect for Marriage Act is bad.
Right.
It is going to be the foundation. It's going to be the basis for the government to go after your churches, hands down, that are against gay marriage. And the C4, the difference between the C4 conversion bill and the Disrespect for Marriage Act, only the big difference is the C4 marriage bill actually has penalties clearly associated with the
C4 conversion bill.
Yes, correct.
It actually has teeth on it.
And that's a Canadian bill.
That's the Canadian bill. The Disrespect for Marriage Act doesn't really have that yet.
Right.
But that is going to be, I mean, there's some in there, but that is going to be the basis for going after churches and creating penalties for churches.
If you can argue the fact that you are not allowing somebody to have something that they feel like they should have or sell, you can, they have some teeth for it.
Yeah,
so I
but
don't
the one saving grace we have here right now is that we have a Supreme Court that would rule against the teeth on that.
The discrimination inside of that is huge right now, so I don't know.
Yep. And remember, they jammed in that bill. They put a jamming mechanism in that bill, said interracial marriage has to be recognized in all 50 states.
Yeah,
that was what they're saying. Yeah. So therefore,
because which state was prohibiting interracial marriage?
Yeah, right,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But what it is though is discrimination. See, that's what they're getting the tie in. That's where the teeth
So therefore,
are.
you can't discriminate against homosexual marriage, which has to be recognized by all 50 states. So even if your state doesn't have homosexual marriage, you have to recognize it. That's what it's saying.
Right, so that you can have teeth, so they can apply discrimination acts against you.
Right. That's right. Number two. I did my own drums. The collapse of the COVID narrative and the request for amnesty of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So was that the Atlanta article?
It's right here.
Yeah.
It was from Emily Oster. Yeah. It was from The Atlantic.
Yeah.
Let's declare a pandemic amnesty. Right. Let's focus on the future and fix the problems we still need to solve. Or you can repent.
It seems like that headline was like sort of a somebody putting their head just above the barricade to see what happened.
Yeah,
And I think she got covered in tomatoes. Because everybody just came at her full bore, and I haven't seen anything like it since.
No.
So I'm not sure that anybody else has really had the gumption to ask for amnesty at all.
I'm grateful for that.
And they're just hoping that everybody, if they ignore it long enough, it will go away.
I'll say this real quickly and let you get to number one, because I think number one has more time we spend on it. But COVID collapsed this past year. The idea, the narrative of COVID, it really collapsed. And everybody who talked about it from there was looked at funny, like, that's not, well, we're not doing that no more.
Right.
They even tried with the mask thing in LA County. It was like, everybody's like, yeah, you can try that stuff. So many people left the left's narrative after the school thing. Right. We talked to the lady who was VP for
Jennifer Say.
Yeah, Jennifer Say. That's right.
Of Levi.
Yeah. And she was like, "I was just saying we should go back to school," and they killed me over this.
I mean, remember the statistics for for children in COVID are just like
less than the flu.
It's
the chance for kids to die under COVID was less than the flu.
Absolutely insane.
I never thought I'd be happy for government schools, and there we go.
So what's hilarious is on my Facebook page, you know how your memories come up.
Yeah.
There was an article on January 3rd, 2021.
Okay.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. And it was Wrench takes on Little's pandemic response. So an old article where the Lewiston Tribune came and did a positive coverage of me fighting Brad Little, because I was doing.
You're part of a lawsuit.
I was doing kind of like statewide press conferences with Janice McGeehan and a bunch of kind of statewide figures and everything, and they Lewiston Tribune. So it popped up today. Wrench takes on Little's pandemic response.
You see this face? Gabe's always gonna make it about him.
No, I'm just saying. Like, I need to read through that article, but it's probably even more true today. Than it was.
Why don't you go number 2 so we can get to number 1?
Okay. All right.
Number 2.
So you guys obviously don't want to talk about that article.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Number 2. We already covered it.
Two.
Oh, wait, but we got to talk about ivermectin. Okay, Neil, this ain't going on YouTube. Obviously, we got to, whatever.
No, you can do it on ivermectin. It's cool now.
Can we say ivermectin?
Oh, it's cool now.
Ivermectin? I don't know. But, Joe Rogan goes on national YouTube, Spotify, and says, "Oh yeah, I took ivermectin. I was great at I'm great.
Got better.
Got lit up.
Right.
And now what does the CDC do? Or is it CDC now recommends?
CDC now recommends ivermectin. But you know what's interesting?
Recommend horse.
They changed
horse paste.
Horse paste.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting to remember about Joe Rogan, it wasn't just that he got lit up; it was who lit him up. The media had been waiting to take out Rogan because of the alternative that he is to them. Right. It wasn't just like, oh, we got him for ivermectin. No. They've been waiting for an opportunity to dethrone Rogan because he is another source of information.
But it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Yep.
All right, I got to go.
Okay, the number one. Oh yeah, you really do got to go. The number one news story of the year was Roe versus Wade.
Bingo.
Roe versus Wade.
Collapse of Roe v. Wade.
Hands down.
Thank God.
1973
for the end of Roe.
Yes.
That's the biggest story of last year, and everybody needs to talk about it.
Hands down.
More to come on 2023 with CrossPolitic. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic. Run, Pastor, run!
It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ.06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.